All right, my friends, you're either a beginner or beginning your improvisational journey. You want to learn how to solo on the guitar. These are all of the things that I wish I knew when I was starting. What I try to tell people that want to start this journey or join our mentorship that are not there yet. I'm going to try to tackle as much as I can. We're going to go into technique, how to use the pentatonic, the structure for using the pentatonic we take on into everything that we learn, up until an advanced level. And if we don't know these fundamental ways of learning and using music, music is a language, the guitar is just the voice that we're speaking or singing that language through, then we're not going to get better at all. We're going to be stuck spinning our wheels. I have worked with clients that have done that for decades. I mean, decades, not just a couple months, not just a couple years. Okay, so let's just get you on the fast track here from the beginning. If you don't know, my name is Ryan. I have helped hundreds of guitar players in the last 21 years now break past this pentatonic, blocky, going nowhere, boring, meandering solos, and really bridge the gap between their creative ideas and what they are able to play. If you would, hit subscribe and that bell notification to get more videos on how to make your guitar playing better. Let's dive into it. I'm going to be looking over here a little bit, right? I have all the bullet points of the things that I want to say. Like I said, this isn't just for beginners, but we're going to touch on a lot of beginner stuff that even if you've been playing for 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is that you may have missed, or need to go back and work on and get better. We can develop really bad habits if we don't have a good way of going about playing the guitar, which we generally don't. So the first thing I want to do is go into the pentatonic, then I'm going to go into some of the technique stuff. So, if you're playing your bar chords, you got some open chords, you can maybe play a couple of notes of this pentatonic. It doesn't sound very good. It's probably as far as you would be to really get the benefits of this lesson. So let's jump into the pentatonic. Now I have a PDF of the spelling. It is numeric. There is a reason that we're using numbers. And the reason is we don't have to know the actual notes. Like if I'm playing this A minor pentatonic, it's A, C, D, E, G, and then the scale starts over again. A, C, D, E, G, it keeps going. If I want to move this up to a B flat or a B, if I know the numeric spelling, which is in that PDF, I can move whatever it is that we learned today anywhere I want to any minor key. Okay, so that's the reason that we're going to focus on the numeric spelling, and that will continue on into whatever it is that we're learning way off into the future. That's why if you've seen like an F sharp 7, flat 9, sharp 11, right? These are the numeric spellings that you're going to see. So let's get into the spelling here. I have a root note which is also going to be referred to as the 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. And then the scale starts over again. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. And then the 8th fret of that bottom E string is a flat 3. Okay, so those root notes, those ones are always going to sound like my home bass. All right, so that's the first thing to consider when we are playing this minor pentatonic is starting to notice that, these notes have meaning and we're not just going to be playing randomly. Now, the problem is if you're starting in this minor pentatonic and you're learning it as those dots on a diagram, if you're playing it up and back and up and back, there's nobody to tell you that there's more. In fact, you've not even really scratched the surface. You just know where to put your fingers right now. But to us, we think, that's it. Like that's the scale. That's the end of the end of this, and then it sort of becomes like, if I'm using the minor pentatonic, right? And this guitar player, Jimmy Page, is using the minor pentatonic. Why don't my solos sound like his? Or why do mine just sound rambly and I'm moving up and down? And that's what we are going to get into, starting with this root note. So even if you just play, I'm just going to play an A, if you're just going up and down the scale, stop on those ones, right? If you need a little help, it's the 5th fret of both E strings, and then the one in between is the 7th fret on the D string, okay? You're just gonna go stop on that note, hear it out, stop on that note, hear it out, right, in that PDF where it says 1 or root note, okay? So here we go. I'm just going to play in A minor. Just get used to that. Go ahead. Whatever rhythm you want. Doesn't matter. Nothing fancy at all. Really focus on the notes. You can hear it like sounding nice. It sounds kind of sweet. There's a sweet home bass kind of feel to it. Cool. Awesome. All right. Just a great way to start using our ear and understanding music as we're getting into these random dots on the diagram that now we've learned. When we're looking at a wild shredder, lightning speed, but sounds really awesome, someone like Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, they can create music with just a couple of notes. Therefore, the more notes that they add, the more musical options they have. It's just like if you found a really great painter and you only gave them like primary colors, they're going to be able to do a lot with it, rather than if you gave them a huge color palette, then they're going to be able to do even more with that. We need to do a lot with a little. And the best part about this is we won't get overwhelmed. This is where we get that rambling up and down the scale. Man, why does it just sounds like I'm practicing the scale up and down, and we kind of are. Let's section this off and try to create a little bit of music rather than just rambling up and down the scale. Okay, so if I take my bottom 2 strings here, okay, 8th fret to the 5th fret on my bottom E, and then 8th fret to the 5th fret on my B, my 2nd string. If you look at the spelling, what I have there is a flat 3 and then my 1, my root note, and then on the B string, a flat 7 and then a 5. All right. What's going to happen is if you look at that spelling where you see the 1, so the root notes, on either side is going to be a flat 3 above or the next note in the scale, sort of ascending, right? Is if I have my root note, the next note in the scale is going to be a flat 3. If I have my root note, the preceding note, the note before, is going to be my flat 7. This creates a little tension. This gives us a close but not close enough feel. So we can build a little bit of tension. That means that really nice, sweet home bass sound that we got from our root note, we can make that wanted, right? And how we're going to do that is play a very simple 2, 3, 4, 5 note, whatever it is, phrase that ends on either a flat 7 or a flat 3. Now, in this case, we're just sectioning off these bottom 2 strings. So we only have the 8th fret and the 5th fret on my E, the 8th fret and the 5th fret on the B. So let's just do a simple, easy. I'm going to start here on the 5th fret of my B, and I'm just going to go up to the 8th fret of my E. That's it. Now that ends on my tension note, right? Brings a little bit of an emotional arc up if you play it against the backing track. I'm going to play the exact same thing and then just add my root note at the end, okay? This is giving me a little bit of tension. It's like, oh man, I really want that root note. There it is, okay? This is a call and response. We're starting to develop a little bit of an emotional arc in this sort of storytelling. We can take this same idea all around the pentatonic. I recommend doing it in two string sections at a time, which I'm going to go over right now. I'm not going to just throw you out there and make you do it. And getting really used to it. The thing is, we should be able to, we want to be able to do this over and over and over. We want to get really good at repeating what it is that we're doing. So let's do another one. All right, so I'm going to start here on the 5th fret of the B string, 5, 8, and then I'm going to go to my E, hit that 5, which is the root note, but then go back to the 8th fret on the B. That's my flat 7. Gives a little tension. Play the same exact thing. Cool. Now I can play the first one. And then the next one. Starting to get tension, resolve, and then another tension and resolve. When we get really good at directly repeating what we did, so the call is the same exact as the response. We're just adding that root note in. We want to really develop this repetition and our ability to tap into that repetition is really how I should word it. We want to be really good at that. The reason is what we don't want to do as we move forward and forward and forward in our improvisational journey is be playing and forget what it is that we just played or forget what it is that we just said. Think of it like a conversation, right? I was an elementary school teacher for a while. I likened it to a kid tugging on your sleeve and just blurting out random, right? Hey, I won my baseball game. Guess what Jamie did today? Guess what I had at lunch? Like nothing has anything to do with what was said before, right? It's just completely random. If we get really good at knowing what we said before, we can carry this conversation forward. This starts with direct repetition. I want to bust a myth right now. That is, when people come to us and they say, hey, my solos sound really repetitive and boring. It's usually this. Now, in our mind, in this early stage of our improvisational journey, we think that that's repeating, repetitive, boring, right? It is boring, right? But the thing is, it's actually not repetitive enough because it's much more of a rambling, right? It reminds me of if somebody were to say, if I were to introduce myself, hi, my name is Ryan, right? The next person, hi, my name is Mark. Next person, hi, my name is Jonas. Are we repeating each other? Not really. Because no one's saying anything interesting, and that's sort of what's happening here. There's nothing interesting happening. Now, if I said, hi, my name is Ryan. Wow, I didn't even realize that I went to school here, Now, if the next person says, hey, my name is Mark. Wow, I didn't even realize that I went to school here, Now we're definitely repeating. Or Mark is definitely repeating me because that is something that is more interesting and then we're saying it. So we want to get good at repeating the exact same thing and getting interesting as we're speaking or playing these phrases, sort of like that. Introduce yourself or dive a little bit deeper into like, wow, I forgot that I went to school here. Whatever the phrase is, I just kind of picked something random. It makes sense, all right? It probably wasn't the best example, but it doesn't matter what I said. You understand what I'm saying. So if I have this, I'm not really repeating. If I have this, now I'm getting a little bit closer to that repeating because that is more interesting. Why? The rhythm of what we're playing. So now if I were to go to those bottom two strings and just do that first phrase, cool, same thing again. All right. There's a little bit, the major lack of interest there, one of them, is going to be the rhythm, the main one. Can we mix that rhythm up? All I want you to do, don't worry about a backing track just yet, okay? All I want you to do is think of long, short for the notes, okay? And I want you to play it. Now we have four notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the same 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the resolve. Pick one of those notes to play longer. Cool. Pick another one. All right. Just mix those up, then play a couple long and a couple short. We only have 4 that we're really picking from here, and start making it a little bit more interesting. Now, like I said, we don't want to be stuck in those bottom 2 strings. Let's move to the middle 2 strings now. We're going to take these 2 concepts there. I have, if you look at the PDF, if I'm starting here on the 5th fret of my D string, the 4th string, on that 5th fret, I have flat 7, then my root note, right? Frets 5, 7, and then frets 5, 7 on the G string, which is my flat 3 and a 4. So now I can do the same idea here. I'm just starting on that 5th fret of the D string and just going up and and then ending on the 5th fret of the G. That's it. That's my flat 3, if you look at the spelling. Add your root note there, right? The 7th fret of the D string. Same idea. Play a couple of those notes. Cool. You could hear how just playing one of those notes longer and then repeating it and then playing it again but changing the note that's longer is going to start sounding different. Those licks are going to start sounding different. Now this taps into 3 of the main things that when we're doing this, we are super, super afraid of. This goes back to my solos just sound like I'm meandering or practicing scales. I put a backing track on, right? And that's all it sounds like. Right, going nowhere. The reason is because of the 3 things that we are afraid of that I want to say right now that we're sort of diving into. Number 1 is repetition. And this is repetition in a micro and a macro way. I'm going to get into the micro way. We've been tackling the macro way. Okay. It's also space. We've been tackling space. We're deathly afraid of that in the beginning. We think we need to fill everything in, but this leave some space for that phrase. We're not going to know it's a phrase if we just keep rambling. Again, space. Let that space happen. We need that breathing room, okay? So we're talking about the repetition. The first that we're afraid of is repeating the same phrase, which is what we were talking about. We need to. Otherwise, hi, my name is Ryan. Hi, my name is Mark. Hi, my name is Jonas. No, we need to say something a little bit more interesting, okay? And then directly repeat that, right? So we're not just drifting off into nothing land, right? Or the little kid, tugging on the sleeve. So the other factor that we haven't touched on yet is repeating the same note. So if we have these phrases, if I go back to my very first one, 5th fret of the B string, 5, 8, 5, 8, great. But this is pretty reminiscent of playing the scale, ascending and descending, right? We're going in one direction, we're always going to the next note. Okay, so just play one note a couple of more times. This is great because when we were doing this, okay, and they said, oh, play one note a little longer. Cool, that changes things. I don't have to add anything more than just playing 1 or 2 or 3 of those notes now more than once. So now just saying like, okay, I'm not going to play every single note 1 and 2 and, right? I'm going to do, okay, great. Or now I played that one longer and the note that follows it a little bit longer. Okay, great. Now I'm messing. But the thing is, I'm still only dealing with 4 notes, right? Where in this case, if I start playing a note more than once, I can have more note options, right? But not more tones. My tones are still just the 5, flat 7, 1, and flat 3. But I could do one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Okay, great. I have those 8 notes, okay? Now, I'm not doing anything that is that much harder. In fact, it could be easier in the stage that we're at now because I get to stay on one note for longer. Now I have more options to change longer note, shorter note, play it faster, play it a little bit slower. Now I have 8 options to do that, 8 times to do that, mix and match, without making it any harder. In fact, I might be making it a little bit easier. Now, the only thing that happens here is this is going to start training our brain to, can I play that? And that's going to be a little bit longer and a little bit more extended. Can I play that, mix and match those rhythms, and directly repeat it? And then, right? And then resolve it. That's going to be the hard part. Again, all training that part of our brain. Take it to 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then resolve it, right? The second example that we did. All right, what if I did two? Maybe I'll just do 2 each. Cool. All right, now I can mix and match and mix and match all of those, right? And I have more and more options. The longer these phrases get, the harder it's going to be to keep track of them, which is why we're training that part of our brain to listen intently to what we just played. Okay, a quick example. If I jumped out to it sounds, when we're starting, like I'm just going to play. I played a blues note in there too, right? I'm just playing that scale up and down. That's not the case. These are the phrases, the very phrases that we are working on now, right? And building blocks and getting to strung together. Like when you go to another country and you hear somebody speaking very fast in a language that you haven't heard before, it just sounds like one massively long sentence. You know what I mean? And if you know the language, you can decipher where the punctuation is. But if you don't know the language, you can't. And that's what's happening here. We don't know the language, so it just sounds like blah, 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 but it's really not. And then when we try to mimic it, man, why doesn't mine sound good? Well, that repetitive part of our brain that we're strengthening is moving so quickly, just like when you're speaking a language. If I go to Spain and I try to get back into speaking Spanish, it just takes me so long and I have to really focus on what I just said and I don't really know it. If we know the language, this stuff just sort of spills out of us, okay? So to really reverse engineer the idea of, hey, it just sounds like I'm running up and down scales, what are we doing? Consistent rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and nothing interesting at all happening there. Cool. All right. Just ascending and descending, right? That's it. Ascending up, descending back, right? So even if I do it in just a section, just sounds like an exercise now, okay? Because I'm just ascending and descending. So when we're adding, already we're getting away from that because I'm playing a few notes more than just once and just ascending and descending, okay? And then the next thing is space. There's no space there. So just starting with those ideas is going to be absolutely fantastic. We've reversed engineered it. I want you to start working on those principles now to really start this journey and start small. This is the other thing, and this actually ties right into what I want to get into with technique, which is great, is if let's just say I want to lift 250 pounds, okay? I'm not a very big person, so that's going to take me a long time. If I just put 250 pounds on a bar and put it on the ground and go to deadlift it, I won't be able to do it, okay? I could come back every single day. I won't be able to lift it. I have to start, and then what? 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, doesn't matter what it is. I'll never be able to lift that. If I start small with a smaller weight that I can lift and train up to 250 pounds, I will get there way faster and actually get there. This is the same thing. Start with these short phrases and don't just try to jump into, why don't my solos sound good? I don't understand. Start with just those 4 notes. Start with just 2 notes, and really break it down to the simplest form. When we are talking about rhythm, I'm going to get into the technique right after this. The rhythm. If the rhythm is a problem, which it usually is for a lot of people, let's take no choice away. We're not, okay? So you've established this tension, release. Fantastic, and you're maybe messing around with playing a couple of notes, more than once. You're messing around with a couple notes longer, a couple notes shorter. Start now here. Let me see. I got my metronome here. I'm putting this on 90 BPMs. I'm going to show you how to come up with better rhythms. Now we're going to take the note choice away, not worry about the call and response, and we're just gonna play one note, doesn't matter what it is, okay? So here's my metronome. Trying to get it. This is sitting like right on my laptop, so it might be like way louder and kind of annoying. Okay, that's my metronome. If I tap my foot, now there's an easy way to think of boring rhythms. It's on that strong beat. Those are my strong beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be my strong beat. If I play those, nothing interesting is going to happen. Now, if I do the eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and again, nothing interesting is going to happen. Now, the ands, the in-betweens, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and are the weaker beats, okay? There are 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, right? And all of them are mixed and matched to strong beats and weak beats. But we're not going to dive too deep into that. Simply do this. You pick one note, okay? I'm just going to play the 5th fret of my E string. And you're going to tap your foot with the metronome. And you're going to try to play a couple of notes on the metronome drop, like on your foot drop, like the metronome clicks, and a couple of notes not on the metronome click, okay? And you do it with your foot tap. So tapping my foot along. Okay. A couple of those notes were on the foot tap. A couple of them were not, all right? That's how we're going to create better rhythms. Do that over and over, you know? Another one. 2, 3, 4. That one. That one, same thing. It was, I mean, really on the foot tap was only on the 2, right? And it just simply had a mix, and I'm trying to be as interesting as I possibly can with just one note of foot tap in between the foot tap, right? We all can do it. I know that we all can do it. We do not have to just be stuck with like, right? Interesting. Yeah. Right. It's just it's a little too on the 1 and 2 ands, right? There's nothing mixed in. I know if we pick one note, even where you are right now, I know you'll be able to come up with something cool. Then when you're doing that, you can start taking that into your call and response, Now, what I was saying technique-wise, if I want to go faster, in this case, I was talking about learning, you know, if I want to go faster, get faster, I'm going to think of the same thing here. If I just grab a guitar, right, and try to play that pentatonic, it's not going to sound good. If I try to do my exercises, I'm not going to get any faster. What I have to do is play clean, get every note to come out nicely, and then build that speed up. Otherwise, I will never get there. It's just like I'm lifting, 250 pounds. So I really want to go through a very important part of this, which is most likely we are training with weights on, running with ankle weights, right? And these ankle weights can be 5 pounds to like 50 pounds. I've seen people grab the guitar and go like this. Now, there's a reason we play that hard and add that much muscular and tension. The thing is, if I take a beginner guitar player and I put their brain in my body and play that, I mean, it would feel like nothing. It would feel like nothing. And we like, whether it's, swinging a bat, hitting a hammer down, whatever it is, we like this sensation of a feeling, right? And this is that, okay? And we can really feel it. The thing is, we want to go down to what I call the 0 point. We want to get as light as we possibly can with both hands, okay? When we don't, we come in way too strong. If you build up this idea of playing too strong, it is going to affect everything you do. Like I said, it's just going to be like everything you do is going to have ankle weights, right? So you're not going to be playing to your full ability, just like this. Right? It's just not going to sound good. We want to build from this 0 point and get faster and faster. A perfect example of this is, and this would be mostly kids, although I've had people, my age that are learning the guitar, or even friends of mine who aren't learning the guitar, do something like this. But if I want to play faster, I can do this. I'm drilling in, man. I want to get a little bit of feel. I want to play a little bit louder. If I want to go fast, I need to go relax, right? And start from almost nothing. And when somebody grabs a guitar and they see me do that, or if I do it at a show or something, it looks a little bit like this to them. Okay, I can play. That's what they do to go faster, right? We want to do the opposite. We want to go down to nothing. The only thing is, when we go down to almost nothing, there is nothing there because we've never used these muscles before, If somebody is not there to show this to you, this could seriously hinder your guitar playing. So this is what I want to do, an exercise. I'm doing it with my phone right now. I can see me, So you can do it with your phone. You can do it with a mirror, but you're just going to play. Now I anchor those two fingers here, and then I even do a palm mute, which means I put this part of my palm here, that palm mute, but I'll move it back so it's not actually touching the string. It's like touching the bridge, okay? What that does is it takes this musculature away. That elbow is not made to make tiny, light movements. We want to get that elbow out of the picture, So, nice and easy, nice and light. You can see I'm barely moving that pick any further than it needs to. Best way to do it is just go really soft. Cool. Same with this. I had to untrain a guitarist who'd been playing for a while. More of a beginner, just kind of like a bonfire guitar player. But it was just so much tension that it was actually like really hurting. Wrist, forearm, the whole deal. So the exercise that I showed this particular person was, listen, as soon as that buzz goes away, that's the only amount of pressure that you need to press down. Now, we're going to press more than that, but we can train to get as close to that as possible, so at least that becomes comfortable. So what I want you to do, a 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise, right? You can do it wherever you want. I do it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I do it on this first fret, and then I go back down again. I move it up to the second fret. I do the same exact thing on the second fret. I do the same thing on the third fret, all the way up to the 12th fret, and all the way back down again. It's the first thing I do when I grab the guitar, okay? The goal is we want to do this really, really lightly. Let's just say, like, sometimes reaching down here is hard, especially for more of a beginner. So let's move it up to the 5th fret. You can see that we're not reaching, and it's a little bit more in line to our elbow to shoulder, right? So here on the 5th fret, we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Just play nice and light. Go really slowly. Make sure every note's coming through. Okay? Don't go too fast. Every note to come through, you're going to notice going down is much more difficult. You might get, right? You might get some sounds like that. You want to make it as clean as possible. Do this over and over as lightly as possible. The more you do it, the better you will get. It's not fun, but it'll make the things that you're doing more fun because you're going to be able to do them well, and that's what I tell people. Do that a lot. Do it a lot. Now, when I'm playing, I dip in and out of that. I play a lot louder than that. The thing is, when we're using those small muscles that we're doing like almost at the 0 point, and then we add to it, we can come back. If I'm just doing this, I'm getting really tired really quickly. I'm overexerting, and everything that I'm playing is so much more difficult than it has to be. So this doesn't even sound good, where if I want to play cool, if I want to play loud, I still have the control because I'm using the appropriate muscles, right? So I want you to do that exercise, and I want you to do it a lot, and I want you to take it into your playing. Can you do the pentatonic that way? up. Make sure you're alternate picking. Always down, up picking, okay? Do it over and over and over. I promise you it'll get better. Now, that being said, everything that we've done up to this point, the interesting rhythms, the call and the response, building the tension with the flat 3 or the flat 7, dropping the tension with my root note. Now we can start adding volume into that. So if I just have just adding a couple of the notes, making the rhythm a little bit more interesting, and then playing a couple notes loud and a couple notes soft is going to make just that lick that much more interesting. Right? Pick and choose, deliver it, do it with intention. Okay? You don't have to play the right note loud and the right note soft. There is no right note. Just do it with intention. This is really, really cool. So now we have these volume swings. We have a mix of really cool rhythms, call, and response, right? There's a lot here. The next thing to tackle, okay, that a lot of people have a lot of issues with because it's something that they never work on, especially in the beginning. Metronome. Just put this metronome on. Now I cover my strings here. Put this metronome on. Now I do a swipe down. I like doing it to just this click sound because I can hear if I'm a little ahead or a little behind. Doing that a lot is just going to get you so well in time where you're going to be able to play within this backing track, you know, whatever it is at your jam session, whatever it is, really, really well because your sense of time is going to be really good. That's all I want you to do. And then you can lower it. I had that on 90 BPMs. Lower the metronome down to 80, down to 70, down to 60. It gets really hard the slower it goes. There is a multitude of exercises that you can do for your time with the metronome. Don't do any more than this. It's going to sharpen your time. And then as you progress, you're going to add more. You know, you're going to add cooler timing exercise routines. So that's all that you need to tackle as far as your timing is concerned. If you do that, it is so beneficial. And so many people do not do that. Be creative with all of this. Creative with your rhythms, your delivery, the volume dynamic. You know, what notes you're going to play longer, what notes you're going to play shorter, whatever it is, just be really, really creative. If you take what we did in this lesson, you should be able to do this over and over and over without getting bored. Notice if you can, if you need to record yourself, that's fine too. All right. Because it's hard to do in real time sometimes when you're just starting. But notice, am I doing one thing too much? You know, am I doing the same rhythm too much? You know, and so on. But there is so much creativity that we can do with everything that we've learned. Now, once that really starts to set in, there's one extension. So make sure you're doing that. I'm going to put this right in this video. There's another extension to this. And that is part of the storytelling. When we're building up that emotional arc and dropping it, building it up with the tension and dropping it, I can add one more element. And that is ending a phrase on a 4 or a 5. If you look at the PDF, you look at the spelling, okay, because we have a 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and then flat 7, and then it starts over again. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, and flat 3. Those 4s and those 5s get a really great, I sort of call them expositions in our storytelling. What does that mean? It's not going to take the tension away. If I have a lick, right? I got that tension. That tension's not going to disappear until I give it the resolution. But if I do have tension, now I'm landing on the 5. It doesn't wipe the tension away. It's sort of, it's not going to push the tension up either, right? If I land on a tension note, a flat 3 or flat 7, and then play another lick that lands on a flat 3 or flat 7, it pushes that tension a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and it gets like really tense, right? If I don't do that and I just do flat 7, tension. All right, now I'm sort of, all right, it's almost like asking a question and then sort of explaining why you asked the question, right? There's still, the answer's not there yet. You're just giving exposition on the question. Now this happens with the answer, the response. Okay, tension's gone. Lick that ends on that 4. That's my 4, the 7th fret of my G. All right, I'm not building tension, right? It's explaining, giving exposition to the answer. So now we have tension, resolution, and then exposition here in the middle, whether you're explaining what you're saying here with the resolution or whether you're explaining what you're saying with the tension. This is so much fun to get into a little bit of storytelling while you're improvising. If you're not saying anything, that's what these meandering, boring solos are. Now you're starting to say something. And this is what we love about our favorite guitar players, is that they are saying something when they're improvising or writing their solos, right? So you're on your way now. So there's a lot to do here, and now you're mixing up the rhythms. The next thing, when you're starting to get into this sort of exposition and adding these neutral notes, the 4 and the 5 sort of tend to be neutral. They're not tension like the flat 3, flat 7. They're not resolution like the root note. As you're starting to mess around with this, when we were talking before about directly repeating, if you're constantly building up a tension and then the resolution and everything is directly repeating, that is also going to get really tiring, right? And really tiring for the listener. If they're constantly listening to the same 2 or 4 phrases sort of like over and over. So what we can do now is start playing our first phrase, you know. What can I do? I know where I'm going to land, right? Because let's say I want to resolve that, right? All right, I just added a little bit more to it. I didn't do much, but I added a little bit more. I kept the beginning of that phrase was the same and just put a little bit more at the end for the resolve. Now what we're doing is we're not just changing, we're not playing 2 identical phrases, call and response, and then 2 more call and response. We're changing them within the call and response, okay? Which is really cool. As long as you remember what you just said, right, and you're trying to respond somehow to it, we're going to be telling the story. If you find yourself making too many changes too often, that's where it sounds rambly, right? And then if you're sort of saying the same thing over and over, that's when it's going to sound repetitive. Think of it like this: somebody asks a question. Hey John, are you here? Yes, I am John, I am here. That's the call and response right there. But if I have, hey John, are you here? Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not really sure where to sit. Okay, answers the question, but there's a little bit more to it, right? It's a different, it's not a direct, repetitive answer. You can start messing with this. There are really, really cool ways, small little things that we can do. A quick reverse. All right, I was going up, same rhythm, back, just descending, right? What notes you're making longer and shorter. This gets great because if I'm coming in now, those 2 phrases don't, on paper, have much to do with each other. It is a tension and then it was a resolution phrase. But because I'm not forgetting what I just said, I'm able to move that story forward without directly repeating it, okay? The only way that we're going to be able to get there is by starting with easy direct repetition like we did in the beginning of this video, making all of those small changes, And then winding up in a place where we're never losing track of what we just said. And this is what your favorite guitar players do. I love it. This concept goes on into other modes, jazz, metal, whatever it is, right? This is the foundation, the building blocks to becoming a great improvisational guitar player. Don't forget, improv is just composition on the fly. So if you're writing your own solos, it's the same thing. You're just doing it sort of like a rapper, freestyle, or writing everything down in a notebook and taking that into the studio. So all of that being said, doing this, you're getting yourself set up. What you should notice is that what you thought, the scale sort of up and down, oh, I got it. I can play the scale. That's it. That's the minor pentatonic. Boom, we are done, right? Is that we have barely touched the surface. And then now that we're in this lesson, we have still barely touched the surface. There's a whole ocean that is happening under here. And always uncovering the why is going to be really beneficial. I know for some people that are watching this, these are great points. You're going to keep working at them. It's going to be great. You have barely gotten past the surface of what you're going to be able to play if you keep moving this this progression forward, right? And on into even the other positions of the pentatonic. If I have this position of the pentatonic and I go to my second position, do I know how to use that? I should be able to create the same music in these other positions and make that all over, right? All over the guitar, okay? And that's just one key and one minor pentatonic. So again, that just one minor pentatonic in one key, there is so much more, to learn and get into. I have some resources for you if you've made it this far into the video. There is a free training that is in the description, 3 steps to full fretboard fluency. It continues what we talked about here, getting a little bit more in depth of how to create music and say something with this pentatonic scale and not just ramble up and down. And if you feel like you're ready for our mentorship program, where we get off into way more advanced stuff, which is fantastic, starting from exactly where you are, there is a link to book a free consultation call below. We could chat, set up a game plan. I can tell you about the step-by-step program, and we can get started as soon as possible. So check those out. Thank you for staying for the whole video, and I will see you in the next one.